class. Today we're going to be discussing IT infrastructure, what is considered part of the infrastructure, what is not. All right, so some of the learning objectives is so we're going to discuss is what is learning, what is the IT infrastructure, what are the components of IT infrastructure, some trends that are happening right now, and what are the current software platforms and trends that we are using today. And what are some challenges that we're going to be facing when managing the IT infrastructure of our organization? All right, so what is the infrastructure of our organization? Everything that we touch in your organization that processes data, that's basically considered what infrastructure of your organization. If it processes and transports the data, so that's basically part of it. So some organizations say that it's just a set of physical devices and software required to operate an enterprise. So, like I said, anything that processes and transmits data can be considered part of your IT infrastructure. Also, sort of firm-wide services to include computing platforms providing computer services, physical facilities, IT management and education and other services, and service platforms perspectives such as web-based systems. So basically, like I said before, anything that processes and transports data, so that's part of your infrastructure. All right, so let's look at the organization and how IT relates to it. So remember that we as IT managers, so what we do is we ensure that uh, the IT infrastructure and hardware, software serve the purpose of the business. All right, so this is what we're talking about is the business strategy. It's the things that we need to do to make money. So we manage all the technology for that firm. So we create our strategy based on the business strategy. And here's when we get the IT services and infrastructure that we have installed. A good example would be that, oh, okay, we are want to serve users that are here or clients that I that that are mobile. So they have smartphones, they have tablets, laptops, and so on. So what kind of infrastructure do we need to implement on this side of the information technology so it fits the business strategy of serving mobile clients? So I have to modify my IT strategy to fit that strategy, that my business strategy, so I could provide a service which my users can use. Make sense? So how IT infrastructure has evolved over the time. So we had this huge idea, and if you've been keeping up with me and some of my posts during the class, I always ask. Um, I talk about what the mainframe systems used to be, and it used to be a centralized computing system where all the data and all the data processing was done by this huge computer called a mainframe. Cheaper versions of the mainframe came out, and they were called mini computers, macrocomputers. Those are the first names that we had. Uh, but these are your AS 400s and so on. Um, so this movement started between the late 50s to the present. We still use them. Uh, Now we with the technology has been so much cheaper, so now companies are making supercomputers more affordable. So, and back in these days, it wasn't even thought that an organization could have a supercomputer. Nowadays they can. Then came out the personal computer. The personal computer uh, is when you can see this date manages the Microsoft, right? Microsoft, Apple came up around this time. Um, then we have the client server, which was the like like to call is the demonization of the centralized computing. Oh, okay. So we have to decentralize all the processing and put it in silos into servers. All right. So this was a trend. That was the earliest trends of a change from mainframe centralized computer to decentralized computing, having servers. Enterprise-wide computing era is when all the components of your organization are connected. It was unheard when I started, and was very expensive to have T1 circuits connecting different areas uh, of your business. But nowadays, it's just so cheap to do to do that. All right, so this is you have a multinational organization, and all your components are connected into the same network, even though that they spread over, we call that a WAN, a wide area network. And nowadays, this is the most recent computer infrastructure that we are working with, which is the cloud. Here you have everything, and this I have mixed feelings about this because sometimes what I feel, and you could share in the discussion forum your views on this. It's like they're pushing this so hard that it's like the default setting of everything is to save everything on the cloud. But there's certain things you don't want to save on the cloud. You know? But anyway, for business, makes sense. Personal use, be careful. Right. So here's a you can see how the connections used to be, or they are. Well, not they used to be. They still are like this. They have centralized computing with the terminals, personal computers. Um, it just gave everyone the uh, the power of processing data, and then the client servers and the interconnection of these computers, personal computers with more powerful computers called servers, which were used to decentralize processes. Is your enterprise computing? You have used the internet as the main uh, form of communication. And some organizations just bypass your network, your network connection, and they just can use the internet as the connection means. But there's other repercussions to doing this. And now this is what the cloud computing is based off: is that everything is on the cloud. You connect to the cloud, and you don't need to connect to the network. So everything is on the cloud. Right. So what makes it a multi-tiered uh, network? Well, when you have a process that goes over more than one computer, well, more than one server to access the data, that basically is what makes it a multi-tier network. You can see on page 172 of the textbook, you can see a further explanation about this. All right, so what is driving the IT infrastructure? I'm pretty sure that most of you have heard what Moore's law is. Uh, it's just basically a law that states that every 18 to 24 months the technology doubles. And nanotechnology now is making its way into the market for different uses. And mass storage. I remember the first gigabyte hard drive when it came out, and games used to be in a floppy disk. A floppy disk used to be 1.44 megabytes of data, and, and we used to think, well, what you need a gigabyte hard drive for, right? But nowadays a gigabyte is just nothing, right? Uh, Metcalfe's law and network economics is just how networks grow, uh, are growing so fast. Right? Everything is being connected, even refrigerators, TVs. TVs is one that I didn't see uh, coming. Is just connecting your TV. You could program your DVR. I was gonna say VCR, but who has a VCR nowadays? All right, so we have the declining cost for communication and the use of internet, and this I don't know how many of you remember paying $20 an hour to connect to the internet, but I remember. Um, Standards and networks effects technology standard specification established to compatibility of products and the ability to communicate in a network. So basically, the how fast can we communicate nowadays be comparison to uh, back in the old days when we had modems instead of. I'm talking about real modems, not telephone modems, not the modem that you have in the DSL modem, which is well, modems. What they do is the decode signals from the cable companies. So there used to be decoding signals to transmitting over an analog line, which was your telephone line. Right, so that's basically what a modem does: decodes and codes signals. All right, here's a graphical representation of what Moore's law is, and so we're talking about the million instructions per second, how it increase with the advent of time and the number of transistors that are within the processor, and you can see how time has increased the MIPS and your transistors and the amount of transistors that you have. Here's another graphical representation of how costs has dropped since the beginning of, well, not the beginning, so early years of computing. Here's your nanotubes. These are made of carbon and they are capable of transmitting electrical current. So, one question I would like to ask is what uses what uses you think that this might have, and where you think you could apply this nanotechnology into. It's kind of weird or fascinating at the same time that we could do this. All right, like I said, back in 19, I want here's where I started. Uh, 1 gigabyte hard drive used to cost like $500, and we asked ourselves, what are you gonna do with 1 gigabyte hard drive space when games used to come in floppy disk? But you can see that uh, went away pretty quick. And there's where we are, which is the hard drive is so much cheaper now. I just bought a 2 terabyte hard drive for like $39. Right. This is another one that is affecting your IT infrastructure, which is the steady decline of your internet costs. You know, now we're seeing DSLs at home with 200, 300 megabits per second connections. I firmly believe that most kids don't need 300 megabits per second, but I don't know. That's I guess it's marketing. Yeah. All right. So what is considered your what are your the components of the IT infrastructure? So as we said, we're just gonna go over computer hardware platforms, operating system platforms, enterprise software applications, data management and storage, network and telecommunication platforms, internet platforms, and your consulting system and integration services. Now, most of these things are running off the web-based servers and the cloud service. So we're gonna go over that in a minute. All right. So here you can see more details of what is comprised between all these segments. Uh, just go over this real quick. So computer hardware platforms is your client computers, PCs, servers, mainframes, and all that. All right. So Again, if you have any questions about this, just let me know. Uh, it is a cool fact that I could share with this is that organizations are nowadays are spending over $660 billion a year in IT infrastructure, and this number is worldwide, so there's money into this market. Operating systems, we all know what an operating system is. So it's what makes your computers go live. If you don't have an operating system in your computer, there's no way you can print a document. So that's what the operating system does. Enterprise software. We're talking about more ERP systems, CRM systems, things that interconnect all the components of your organization. So that's basically what. So these are large-scale software platforms. Example is SAP, Oracle, IBM has something out there that is using to compete with ERP systems. They also provide database systems. So, so your database, you have your DB2s, Oracles, SQL servers, and Sybase, MySQL, Apache, Hadoop, and so on. Right. EMC Corporation. This is one that's been evolving with technology trends. So just look into this. I remember there used to be very. It was just to have an EMC storage device. That was a huge thing back in the old day. So more in the networking and telecommunications platforms, you have your network operating systems that you can do some load balancing if you need to. Shared resources on the network, and you need a network operating systems to do that. Back in the old days, we had Novell. I don't know how many of you remember Novell. Network hardware providers. These are your most common uh, providers for network equipment. Cisco, Juniper. I remember 3Com. I don't know how many of you remember 3Com. HP also has large uh, network equipment. Telecommunication services, all your providers, and these involve your AT&Ts, Verizon. And it used to be your phone companies, only your phone companies. Then cable companies came in into the game, and cable companies had an advantage over over phone companies because uh, uh, cable companies started implementing uh, fiber optic technology earlier than uh, than than the telephone companies, and then the telephone companies had to catch up with the cable companies. So cable companies, even though that they were not conceived as telecommunications uh, companies in the first place, they transformed into telecommunication later on with the maximizing the use of their infrastructure, which was mostly fiber optics. So, internet platforms that involve your hardware and software, your management service, and that's management services to support your company websites and intranets. So it's basically the same thing, just where it's placed within the in relation to the router, if it's outside or inside the router. So and who can see it. So that's basically what makes the difference between the internet and the internet. All right, so this is pretty much self-explanatory. So all right, so even these large organizations have to have rely on some sort of a consulting firm to do the integrations uh, of the IT. And I've seen a lot of organizations that thought that they could outsource entirely the whole department, and so that had this huge drawbacks because the outsource component of the company uh, was not their priority. your priorities were not their priorities. So this has to be negotiated very early in the contracting. If the company decides to outsource the entire thing, uh, it's that is a bad move because nobody watches better um, the interest of the organization than someone that works for the organization. Right. So I've seen this mistake a couple of times in my professional life. There's some IBM and HP are the hardest one I've had the fortune to work with. Uh, I like both of these companies. They're very good and reliable as consultants. All right. So what are the current trends in computer hardware and platform? All right. Everything's going mobile nowadays. All right. So and here's another one. I did a paper on this. Bring your own technology. Bring your own device. This uh, has it has its advantages and disadvantages where everybody brings their own technology. So basically, you have to make everything web based, so it's transparent to the operating system. So let's read on more into this. Uh, Interactive sessions, technology, wearables, computers is another trend that is coming out. Uh, a lot of people have. Have you heard about the iWatch? There's a lot of things that I don't need my cell phone. I just need it to be nearby. So just thinking about things like this. You might want to discuss this in the incorporate these topics into your comments in the discussion forum. All right, so newer technology trends. Quantum computing is just these computers that are capable of computing at speeds that are unthinkable right now. So this they're still under development. This quantum computing. Um, so just check it out. It's pretty interesting. Virtualization is a newer trend. But it's not as new as people think. We have been dealing with this for close to 10, 15 to 20 years already. Early stages, nobody saw or was kind of like resistant to doing ritualization. Nowadays, everybody's doing ritualization. um, I forgot to mention something here in the visualization. I don't know how many of you remember blade servers. So blade servers, you just added more processing power to the cabinet, and you could it's kind of like outsource your processing power to a network to whatever process needed to be run at the moment. But again, this is this is more like it makes me remember mainframe computing where you had the processes that were they're done in batches into the server and they program into time and things like that. Just think about that. So under cloud computing we have infrastructure as a service, software and platform as a service. So these are your cloud-based services that are available nowadays. You can make this your own. For example, you could do your own uh, cloud system in your home. If you take an external hard drive, connect it uh, to your Wi-Fi router, and you could access it from your cell phone from there anywhere in the world, using the internet. So what you do is you can save all your documents there, and only you can access them through the internet. It's pretty cool to do. If you haven't done it, try it. You could do it with a thumb drive and just play around with that and just let me know how it was. How you could it is it's very convenient because you could access your documents anywhere and anytime. So it's a convenient to do. Just try it. Try it out. Just put it in your router. If you have a good router like mine, I have a Netgear, it has a USB port. Uh, you can connect your USB drive there. All right. So some drawbacks, people are still skeptical about using cloud-based systems. So there's some concerns with security. So it's uh, hybrid cloud computing models. We're gonna go over that in a minute. All right. So this is basically what your cloud looks like. It's just a mesh up of everything. All right. So you have your access any resource from the cloud. Uh, you could access from any form of like a tablet, desktop servers, everything. iPhones now, the smartphones are coming out. It's pretty. They have more power now in an iPhone than you used to have in a computer back when I started. So, all right. So these are kind of the services that cloud-based businesses are offering right now. This is Amazon example of the things they offer for to their clients. So just check it out. So now what is coming out? Uh, Good things to keep an eye there is for your green IT or green computing, they call it. It's just adapting a good recycling program for your technology, reducing your power consumption. That's another. Uh, and data redesigning of data centers nowadays. Uh, Google had a they redesigned a data center where they recycle all the heat heat created by the computers and um, sent that heat, redirected that heated air to the buildings and reducing cost of heating the the building. So ideas like that is just green computing. High performance and power saving processors and multi-core processors. Uh, Nowadays, I have 4 cores in my processor. I'm not sure I'm using all four, so I'm just kidding. Right. All right, so we have more uh, computer software platforms and trends that are just out there that people are using more open source software. Um, and Java is not going away. It's been for a while. If you want to take an additional course just to familiarize yourself with Java, go ahead and do it. It's a very common, uh, or important language to learn. All right. Web services and web oriented architecture. Like I said, where everything is going over to the cloud and being as a service instead of just buying the whole software package. You could now by purchase it by the users, how many users are connecting. So that takes away a lot of your operating costs or in the at the beginning. All right, so for that, we continue with the computer software platforms. Uh, Nowadays, everything's being outsourced. Mashup and apps is just combination of two softwares, and and it's kind of like a hybrid between the two of them, and it creates a solution that you want. Uh, a good example would be like your Facebook. What what do you use a Facebook for? Is to keep your peers informed about yourself. So if you combine it with YouTube and you create links and to YouTube or to any other application like Instagram. So for example, Twitter, then you're making a mashup. All right. So you can see that the trend of outsourcing software and software as a service and the total spending on software services is going steadily up. All right, so it's good to know. All right, platform as a service. Now, this is one thing that we are in charge of is making sure that everything is scalable, and because that's our job. As you all know, companies shrink and grow as they go through life. things happen. So your computer system has to be adapt to those situations. All right. So who controls IFT infrastructure? I remember the last comment that I said about uh, an organization that outsourced the entire IT department and had no representation of their own taking care of the IT business. So so you just got to make sure that your organization has someone looking out for the IT infrastructure, and no one does that better than a person from within the organization. All right, so making wise infrastructure investments, the first thing you need to know is what is that we want to do, what the organization needs to do. Uh, you do not invest in something just because it's cool or because it looks pretty, or just because everybody else is doing it. What are you gonna? You need to get to the mentality that is, what are we gonna get out of this investment? All right. So if I buy new uh, Apple laptops, uh, my workforce is gonna reduce its downtime by 10%. Okay, so that's a good justification. Or they're gonna increase the productivity. All right. Then you need to justify. Need to know how to justify these situations. So that makes it wise. All right. So now one thing that we're gonna talk about in this during this week is your total cost of ownership. All right, because the total cost of ownership is not just going to Best Buy and say, "Oh, I'm going to buy 10 computers and they cost me uh, $600 a pop." All right, so it's not $6,000. You just pay $6,000 for 10 computers, but how much is going to cost you to get them installed, to get the program, have the software that you need uh, in your that you're using currently using, and basically get them configured so, to where they can become productive. And not only that, you have to take into consideration also the maintenance of it. But that's debatable uh, because nowadays with the Microsoft automatically updates system, which I'm totally against, but that's a whole different topic. Uh, when your people come in to work and you find that all your computers are automatically rebooting because Microsoft decided that it's time to do an update. But all that could be tweaked, but it takes time to tweak all that stuff and knowledge as well. All right, so like I mentioned before, we are supporting department and we have to support the business strategy. So therefore, uh, this business wants to stay competitive. These are the things that drives our department is that everything we do has to somehow add value to the business. All right. So what are we looking at is that the market demand for firm services. Like an example that I mentioned before is that like if my customers want to be use their mobile devices, so that means I have to invest in technology that makes my services available through the web to mobile devices. All right. So I have to make an investment. Firm business strategy. This is the most important one to me. The firm's IT strategy, infrastructure, and costs, information technology assessment. This is something that needs to be done regularly. I'll say like every month you have to go back and see what do you have, how's it working, how is it behaving. Look at the trouble tickets, help desk. Those are there for you to investigate and make future decisions. For example, um, if you buy a particular brand of computers and you notice that their average of 10 trouble tickets a week on that particular brand, so it's something to consider. All right, what are my competitors using? So why you want to, You need to look at what our competitors are doing because technology can give you a competitive advantage. All right. And going back to the first example of the firm services, if my competitor is offering the same service or similar service than I am offering, but they're doing it through a mobile device and I'm doing it just through computers, they have a competitive advantage over you. So you have to constantly be looking out what your firms are using, right? So you have internal and external factors that enables your competitive advantage. So is your firm is the center, and you have internal factors that you can control, and then you have external factors that you cannot control, but you can see, and you can make the internal changes as you need. All right. So if you have any questions, comments, you know how to reach me is my email. Text me if you want. Have a great week. Take care.